Up, Driveway members? Stephen Lefkoff here. I have to apologize. We are having some technical difficulties here with the webinar, so I'm just going to record it this way, and I'm going to send it out to everybody. I know we had a bunch of registrations. I hope that you weren't sitting at 1 o'clock waiting on your computer. I really do apologize for that. We have moved into our new office, which we're very excited to show everybody, and as part of that transition, we're still kind of getting out the kinks and working out the systems over here, and you can't see it, but getting all the stuff up and together, and there's some last minute things that are happening on like first time events like this one. So my apologies very much, but again, I am not going to let that slide. We are having the webinar. I am going to get on our Zoom office hours in just a few minutes. Once I'm done, I will be on there. I will be messaging everybody to let you know that I'll be on there, and you will get this webinar to you shortly. I know you won't be able to ask questions in the webinar because you're not here because we're recording this, but that's sorry. Just send me a message. You guys know how to use your Driveway portal. Send me a message if you have any questions as you're watching this, and we'll get into it. So what I want to talk about today, and part of the reason I don't have my slides up, is it's been a time moving. If you've ever moved, you know what this is like. So what we're going to talk about today, though, we're going to talk about title issues, and it's very relevant because we are dealing with more titling issues now in our office than we've probably ever done before. And I don't know if that's because of access to information for the consumer or access to fraud is better way to put it for the consumer, or if it's just because of because of manpower or because auctions are having issues. I really don't know what the reason is, but we are seeing so many more titling issues in our office than we've ever seen before. And so that made me say, hey, we should talk about titling issues today. So I'm going to talk about it in kind of different stages. I want to break this up. First, we're going to talk about buying the car at auction and what kind of things we're seeing now that we maybe didn't see before, or that we're seeing more of now than we've ever seen before. So I want to start by reminding all of you of something that nobody does, but that the law requires and that you should be doing, and that's do not sell a car until you have the title in hand. Okay? I have so many clients, excuse me, that are getting their cars at auction and are putting them on, refreshing them, cleaning them out, whatever you need to do, putting them out on the lot and selling them to the first buyer because you don't want to miss a sale. The problem is they're doing this before they've gotten the title. And when you do that before you've gotten the title, you're now going to start feeling the push and the pressure to get that title and get it transferred into your customer's name in the time required by Georgia law. And with each day or each week that you don't have the title, that's each week less that you have to get this stuff done. And let me tell you something. I can tell you from the CEO and moving into my new office, waiting on the government is not fun. If you've never dealt with this, you will at some point. If you have dealt, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're putting your eggs in the government's basket, meaning if you're putting that pressure, right, because you don't have the title, you sell a car, and then you go to register once you get the title, and now all of a sudden you only have 2 weeks to get the deal done. You're hoping the government will do its job quickly to get your customer registered. Good luck. Because you want to give the government as much time as possible because they take it, period. Full stop. You give them 2 weeks, they're going to take 4. So you better have that 4 weeks available to them. So number one, you want to sell the car with title in hand. Of course, the problem becomes if you do not do that, you subject yourself to potential rescission claims, Fair Business Practices Act claims, and all of a sudden this car that you were probably going to make $2,000 or $3,000 on is costing you $5,000 to $10,000 in actual costs dealing with this customer and their complaints. So get the title in hand before you sell it. Okay. Now, what are we seeing now as far as why that's not happening? Before, in a lot of cases, it was we just sold the car before the title came in. Well, now we're having bigger issues. And one of those big ones is that sellers at auction are not paying off trade-ins. Okay. So they're taking we'll come up with a scenario. They're taking in a 2028 hadn't happened. A 2021 Genesis on trade, and then they're putting it out at the auction. The auction is selling it, and the dealer still hasn't even paid off the lien holder yet. You wonder how that's possible that the auction would sell it. Trust me, I've seen crazier things. Not only is it possible that it just slips through, but also it's possible that the customer brings the dealer, the trade-in dealer, a fraudulent title showing no lien. It's also possible that the dealer makes a fraudulent title showing that it's been paid off. I have seen it both ways, and I've seen it both ways in the last 6 months. This is not something that I'm like, oh yeah, 10 years ago I had that one case that was really weird. No, 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 no. This is happening now as we speak. I have a case right now on my desk where the customer brought their car into trade, presented a clean title at trade. The dealer took it in on trade. Then the dealer flipped it to the auction. Then the dealer sold it to my client who bought it, got the clean title, tried to register, and was stopped by the state because the car had been marked as stolen. In that case, it had been marked as stolen. In another case I had just a few months ago, the original lien holder put a hold on the title, and we found out it was a fraudulent title. That is a absolute mess to unwind, okay? And you have to figure out who's at fault, where do you write letters, who do you contact? If you're going to sue somebody, who do you even sue? Do you find the customer of the trade-in dealer? Yeah, good luck. How about the trade-in dealer who had no idea that any of this was happening? How about the auction? Can you arbitrate it? Well, I can assure you it's too late now to arbitrate, and some of them don't cover this in title issues. So it's a mess. It's a real mess when you get into these situations. All of this can be prevented if you have the title in hand and you verify the accuracy of the title before you sell the car, okay? I've also seen titles get lost in the mail, right? My dog ate my homework. We see that kind of stuff, and you hear about that, right? But it's true. We have, and that's especially been the case here locally recently because of what's happening in Palmetto. If you don't know, the United States Post Office has changed their routing system locally here and built out or enlarged, or they did some, I haven't been down there, but they did something to the Palmetto Distribution Facility, USPS. And what that did, though, is it stopped up the mail. In fact, in our office, we're still getting mail that was postmarked a month and a half ago. We got one just the other day. That client was like, I promise you, I sent it. I'm like, where is it? It was an original document. They couldn't just resend me a copy by UPS or FedEx. They sent it post office. It literally took 6.5 weeks to get to my office. And they were from Macon. Not that far away. We could have just driven down there and picked it up if we had known, right? But this is what's happening with the United States Postal Service. So if you're expecting titles, whether you're sending them or receiving them USPS, you might be in for a very, very rude awakening. Now, I understand if it takes you 4 days to get the title from auction, you might say, well, I'm not going to sell the car in 4 days. But if it takes 3 weeks because of mail delays, you've now got an asset sitting on your lot that is depreciating, and you have potential customers that you're not able to sell to because of post office delays. The problem with that, there's lots of problems with that. One of the major problems with that, though, is that you're going to want to sell it to one of those customers, and you're not going to know when the title is coming in. And so you sell it to a customer because it's been on your lot for 10 days. You sell it to somebody. You're like, yeah, it's no problem. The title's on its way, whatever. We're going to work with you. We're going to try and make this, happen. It should only be a couple weeks. Bear with us. Then a couple weeks later, you get a call from the customer. Yeah, we're working on it. We still don't have the title. We've made calls to the auction. They swear they've sent it. A couple weeks later, next thing you know, you're getting it from the USPS, but it's way, way, way late. You've got a customer already demanding rescission, and you're in an absolute mess. The third time we see issues with title is when the selling dealer at the auction closes. Okay, so they liquidate their assets. They've got 20 cars on their lot. They send them all to the auction. They sell all of them real quick, and they don't ever send titles. What do you do? It's one thing, and here's the thing. You may be saying, we're on the highway. That's a very loud, what is that? Oh, a McLaren. Nice. You may be saying to yourself, well, that's not an issue for me, right? But then you stop for a second. You go, wait, maybe it actually is, right? Because if the seller goes defunct and never gets you the title, what do you do? Here are the two scenarios where that's a problem. It's a problem, period. But two big scenarios where that's a problem is one, it's actually the both scenarios. You've sold the car, or two, you haven't sold the car. I can tell you this, it's way worse if you've sold the car because now you have a customer coming at you while you're trying to get to the selling dealer. And who's going to catch? Are they going to catch you before you catch them? I don't know. I hope not. I hope you're able to get that title. But if you can't, you've now got a customer coming at you. If you haven't sold the car, at least now the customer's not here and you're just dealing with the selling dealer. I know it's messy. I know it's expensive. I know it's a huge problem, but it's and it is a huge problem. But at least it's a problem between you and the dealer, and not with the customer breathing down your neck at the same time, which is a much bigger problem. Okay, so now we're going to talk about something that's become a new issue, and that's title fraud. So title fraud, we've seen a lot recently of customers creating new titles, like out of thin air. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know how they're getting them. I don't know what they're using to print them. I don't really know what's happening, but they're finding ways to get titles and present them on trade-in and pretend like they're real, and dealers are buying it. So you need to be very, very careful if you're taking a car on trade to verify that that title is accurate. Whether it has a lien release, no lien, clean, clear, salvage, whatever, you're going to want to verify that that title is accurate. Now, I want to talk briefly. My computer just locked out. I'm telling you guys, this has been a day. This has been a day. And now it's not letting me back in, of course. Okay, cool. Is this even connected? Okay, I don't know why my computer's not letting me in. This is going to be very interesting when I go to... Oh, well, we'll talk for a minute. So let's talk about the Department of Revenue, because we're having huge issues with the Department of Revenue with titling. And these are showing up in two different places right now, more than most. And one of them may not be applicable to you, but the way they're handling it is, and that's with K-cars. If you're not familiar with K-cars, these are tiny Japanese street legal, highway legal vehicles in Japan that here in the United States, state by state, they're deciding. Some states are deciding they're okay, some they're deciding they're not. Here the law has been a gray area law for a very long time, but the Department of Revenue has said it's fine, we'll title them. So you have enthusiasts and you have dealers, excuse me, that are accepting the titling of these K-cars, accepting possession and selling them. They're importing them from Japan, they're selling them out, and they're getting them registered. Well, now the Department of Revenue is saying, actually, no, we're not going to register these K-cars. So now you have these dealers with assets on their lots that they can no longer sell, that have no resale value because nobody can use them. They have to sit in a garage. So that's a big deal. The other big deal with K-cars is not only is the DOR refusing to title them, but now they're sending notices to current K-car owners canceling their titles. And that's an even bigger problem, because you have people that bought on faith titled vehicles, registered in their names, and later, months, weeks, years, whatever, are getting notices saying, yeah, too bad and so sad, you can't drive this in Georgia anymore. We are representing a group dealing with this right now in a case against the Department of Revenue. You may have seen it on 11 Alive. That was pretty cool. But we're working on that case right now, but just know that that's a thing. But it doesn't just limit to K-cars. We're now seeing the Department of Revenue do something I've never seen before, and that's sending notices of salvage to owners who believed that they had clean titles. Let me give you an example of a case we're dealing with that's an absolute mess, but it's very important to know. We have a client, car dealer, who buys cars that have been damaged. Okay, these are cars that show signs of a wreck. They buy them at auction, they fix them up, clean them up, they get them all repaired, and then they sell them. Normally not a problem. And also, by the way, they're looking for cars with clean titles. So these are clean title cars that they are looking for that have damage, so they can buy them on a discount. They fix them up, they sell them as a clean title, all is well. Well, I'm dealing with a case right now where 2 years ago they sold a car. They fixed, same story, bought it at auction damaged, fixed it up, sold it, customers thrilled. Everything's great, no problems with the car, no complaints about the condition, really no issue at all. Fast forward, 2 years from the date of sale, and the customer gets a letter from the Department of Revenue canceling their title. Or better yet, not canceling the title. What they did was the Department of... I'm trying to get my password working so I can turn my dang computer on here. What they did was the Department of Revenue actually said, your car is salvage because of prior damage. And since it's a salvage vehicle, we're going to cancel your clean title, and we're going to issue you a salvage title. But first, because it's salvage, you have to go take it to be inspected to make sure it can even be roadworthy. Well, the customer absolutely flipped out, right? Flipped out. What is happening here? So who does the customer go to? The customer, of course, goes back to the dealer and says, you sold me a car that has a salvage title. And the dealer says, we had no, what? It was a clean car when we sold it. It was a non-issue when we sold it. Why is this all of a sudden becoming a problem? Well, it turns out that in this case, and we've now learned of others where the Department of Revenue is just doing this. They're just reviewing cars sold at certain auctions and deeming them salvage. But in this case, you had an insurance company that that issued payment on a claim 2 years after the claim was made, and then they notated the car as salvage. That is a huge issue. So our client's being sued by the customer. We brought in the insurance company as a third party, and hopefully they're going to step up to the plate and pay. We're going to find out in the next few weeks. But the whole point of that is that what we're learning is that the Department of Revenue is right now looking at those cars to change the titling and how they're being handled, and how the disclosures are going, what they're saying about title, et cetera, et cetera. So these are things to keep a lookout on for titling. Okay, those are all possible issues. They all are rectified, with the exception of that last one, which is an absolute mess. Most of them are rectified by having the title in hand before you sell a car and verifying that the title is accurate. If you do that, you should be free of most titling issues. I'm going to hop on Zoom now and be there for our Zoom open office hours. I look forward to seeing you. Again, my apologies for the technical difficulties here. We are going to get that ironed out. But you know what? Our open house is May 17th, before our next webinar. So I hope to see you at the open house. I will show you what was happening here today, and I look forward to meeting you, some of whom I've never met in person. So please make it a point. You should have gotten an invite in your email. Make it a point to come to our open house, and I will see you then.